In the LS9 online seminar, we'll provide simple instructions for setting up and using the LS9. Connect a microphone to LS9 input connector 1. Connect LS9 Omni-out connectors 15 and 16, or Omni-out connectors 7 and 8 if you're using an LS9 16, to your power amplifier, and connect your power amp to appropriate speakers. You could use powered speakers in place of a power amp and passive speakers. Turn the LS9 power on. After the console has powered up, scene 000 should be initially selected by default, you can turn on your power amplifier or powered speakers. When working with an analog console, it was always necessary to check that all controls were normalized before setting up a mix. On most large consoles, this meant spending a considerable amount of time making sure that more than 1,000 controls were set to the appropriate neutral positions. On the LS9, all channel controls are concentrated in the Selected Channel section, and all default settings are stored in scene number 000. So all you have to do to normalize or reset the entire console is to recall scene 000. Make sure that the layer of the 1 through 32 key on the left side of the display is lit. Then press the Channel 1 Select key. This selects Channel 1, which is the channel to which you connected your microphone. Adjust the head amp gain by speaking or singing into the microphone at approximately the expected actual volume while watching the channel fader level meter and adjusting the HA gain knob. Adjust for maximum signal level that does not cause the over indicator to light. After making sure that only one of the mix matrix keys on the left side of the display are lit, thus ensuring that the Sends On Fader mode is not selected, engage the Channel Fader On key. Then raise the fader carefully to the nominal 0 mark on the scale. Finally, make sure that the Stereo Master Fader On key is engaged and lit. Then carefully raise the faders. If you supply an input signal while doing this, the stereo master meter on the right of the display should start to show a reading, and you should begin to hear some sound. The Selected Channel section on an LS9 console corresponds to the channel modules on a traditional analog console, providing access to all of the main parameters for the currently selected channel. Each channel module on a conventional analog console has multiple controls. With the Selected Channel system, select keys are used to select a channel to be controlled from a comprehensive central Selected Channel Control section, resulting in a vast reduction in the number of necessary controls. Let's take a moment to compare the channel module controls on an analog console. The most important of these, head amp gain, EQ, and pan, are duplicated for every channel. The LS9, for example, features 4-band parametric channel EQ, controlled by 3 switchable knobs. The same degree of control requires 12 knobs on an analog console. Next, take a look at the fader section at the bottom of the channel module. The basic layout is similar, but the LS9 does not have the bus select switches that are common on analog consoles. The parameters for the channel selected via the select keys appear on the display. The Selected Channel section is located to the right of the LCD panel. The Selected Channel section encoders and keys control the parameters that appear in this section of the display. This includes head amp gain, EQ, 2 different dynamics thresholds, panning or balance, send to mix buses, and other controls. The high-pass filter can be controlled via the display only. To access more details of each parameter, such as pre or post for mix sends, open a pop-up window by pressing the corresponding knob. In the Sends On Fader mode, you can use the console's faders to adjust send levels to the mix buses, or send levels from the mix, stereo, LR, and mono buses to the matrix buses, and use the on keys to turn those sends on or off. With the channel layer selected, use the Mix Matrix Select keys to select the mix bus you want to edit. Press a mix bus key once and it will light. Press the same key a second time and all keys in the Mix Matrix section will light while the selected key flashes. Sends on fader will flash at the top of the display. The currently selected mix bus is displayed. The bus knobs that were showing in the main display will disappear, indicating that control has been transferred to the console's faders. At this point, the faders control the levels of the corresponding signals sent to the mix buses. When you've finished setting the mix send levels, press the key that is currently flashing in the Mix Matrix Select section. The LS9 will return to normal mode. Alternatively, you can use the selected send encoder for these settings. Press the Mix Bus button you want to edit. Then you can adjust the send level to the selected mix bus by turning the selected send encoder. The LS9 has an 8-unit virtual rack. Rack spaces 1 through 4 can be loaded with 31-band or Flex 15 graphic EQ units, while rack spaces 5 through 8 can be loaded with GEQ or SPX multi-effect units. Each 31-band GEQ unit provides 31 independently adjustable bands for a single channel, while the 15-band Flex 15 GEQ units let you control up to 15 of 31 bands for 2 channels. Press the Rack 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 keys in the Display Access section simultaneously to open the Virtual Rack GEQ effect display. Position the cursor at the rack button corresponding to the rack you want to access, and press the Enter key. Select Rack 5. The Rack Mounter pop-up window will open. Use the blank 31-band GEQ, Flex 15 GEQ, or Effect buttons to select the type of unit you want to mount in the selected rack space. Then press the OK button. Press the Cancel button if you want to close the pop-up window without mounting a GEQ or effect unit. For this example, select Effect. At this point, an effect module has been mounted in Rack 5. The labels on the left side of the rack correspond to inputs, while those on the right side of the rack correspond to outputs. If you position the cursor at a mounted effect unit in the Virtual Rack GEQ effect display and press the Enter key, the effect pop-up window will open. If you select a unit in rack spaces 1 through 4, the EQ Edit display will open when you press the Enter key. Move the cursor to the parameter you want to edit and use the dial or increment and decrement keys to edit it as required. There are 2 ways to change the effect type. If you select an effect unit that has been mounted in rack spaces 5 through 8, the Effect Edit display will open when you press the Enter key. Select Rack 5. Select the Library button and press the Enter key to open the Effect Library pop-up window. Use the dial to select an effect from the list that appears in the pop-up window. You can click the Recall button to load the selected effect. Edited effects can also be saved to the library via this pop-up window. And here's how you can use the effect icons to select effects. Select the effect icon and press the Enter key to open the Effect Type pop-up window. You can then click on one of the effect icons to select the corresponding effect. Press the Enter key to load the selected effect. Recall the effect you want to use. Position the cursor at the Library button and press the Enter key. Effect Library pop-up window will appear. Use the dial to select an unused memory number. Effects you have edited can be stored in Effects Library numbers 058 through 199. Effects Library numbers 001 through 057 are read-only. RevX reverb programs can be recalled from library numbers 046 through 048. Move the cursor to the Store button and then press the Enter key. If this is the first time the effect has been stored, a graphic keyboard for name entry will appear. Use the cursor keys and dial to enter a name, then position the cursor at the Store button, and finally press the Enter key. A confirmation message will appear. Position the cursor at OK and press the Enter key to store the effect. To change the bus assigned to an effect in the virtual rack, change the insert point via the Input-Output Channel Select display. For this example, we'll change the bus assigned to the Rack 8 input to Mix 16. Move the cursor to the input button you want to edit and press the Enter key. The Output Channel Select display will appear. Select the Mix 16 button in the Out Channel tab and press the Enter key. Finally, select the Close button and press the Enter key to close the display. In the same way, move the cursor to an Output button and press the Enter key. The Input Channel Select display will appear. Select the Stereo In 4L button in the Stereo In tab and press the Enter key. Finally, select the Close button and press the Enter key to close the display. This finishes the assignment process. There is no need to assign effect returns to channels. In Scene 000, the effect returns are assigned to stereo input channels 1 through 4, but these assignments can be changed. Either click the button to the right of the effect unit in the rack to open the Input Channel Select pop-up window, or open the Patch Name pop-up window from the Overview display to change the effect return assignments. The return channel can be selected as required from the Input Channel Select display. Even if you assign the effect returns to channels other than the stereo input channels, the original stereo input signal assignments remain active unless you specifically disengage or change the stereo input channel assignments. If you position the cursor at a mounted GEQ unit in the virtual rack GEQ effect display and press the Enter key, the Rack 1 display appears. Individual bands are edited in the Rack 1 display. If you've made adjustments but want to start again from scratch, it's easy to reset all bands to 0. Click the Flat button to reset all bands. A confirmation window will appear. Use the cursor keys to select the OK button, then when you press the Enter key, all bands will be reset to 0. Although you can boost and cut the EQ bands via the display, you can also use the channel faders to directly control the corresponding bands. Position the cursor at a button in the Fader Assign area at the bottom of the display and press the Enter key. The channel faders will move to the corresponding settings as soon as a Fader Assign button is engaged, and the faders can be used to boost or cut the corresponding EQ bands. Also, when the Fader Assign function is active, the On keys above the faders can be used to instantly reset the corresponding bands to their 0 settings. You can switch between different GEQ units by repeatedly pressing the Rack 1 through 4 or 5 through 8 key. Flex 15 GEQ units can be selected and edited in the same way. When a Flex 15 GEQ unit is being edited, the number of remaining available bands will be displayed. The LS9 allows you to store mix settings, input and output port patch settings, and other settings as scenes with original names for easy identification. The available scene number range is 000 through 300. Scene number 000 is pre-programmed with the console's default settings and is read-only. Scene numbers 001 through 300 can be written to and read from as required. Scene data is stored in a special buffer memory that will retain the settings even if there is an unexpected shutdown due to power trouble. Let's begin by recalling the default settings to reset the console. To recall scene 000, either use the increment and decrement keys or the dial to display 000 in the scene field. Then press the Enter key. A confirmation message will appear, and scene 000 will actually be recalled when you press the Enter key a second time. By recalling scene 000, you reset or normalize the entire console in one quick operation. Once the console has been reset, you can begin to edit the various parameters for your mix. But of course you can edit parameters from any scene number. When any changes have been made to the currently selected scene, an E, standing for Edited, will appear below the scene title. This makes it easy to tell whether the scene has been edited or not. By assigning scene 000 to one of the user-defined keys, you can recall it and therefore reset the console by pressing a single key. When the required settings have been made, store the scene. Press the Scene Memory key in the Display Access section as many times as necessary until the Scene List display appears. Make sure that the cursor is outside the display area and use the dial or increment and decrement keys to select the scene number you want to store your new scene to. When you've selected a scene, position the cursor at the Store button and press the Enter key. The Scene Store pop-up window will appear. Enter an appropriate title for the scene, then position the cursor at the Store button in the Scene Store pop-up window and press the Enter key. A confirmation message will appear. Position the cursor at the OK button and press the Enter key to store the current settings to the selected scene. The new scene number will appear in the scene number field on the display, and the E-Edit indicator will disappear. When a scene is stored, the following parameters are stored in the specified scene memory. All parameters that are not stored as scene data, not including the knob settings, are stored in the console's global memory. Those settings are not recalled with scenes, but are retained in memory when the console is turned off and restored when the console is turned on. You can specify that certain parameters are not to be recalled when a scene is recalled. You might want to do this to keep an announcer's mic open and unaffected by other console-wide changes while scenes are being switched, for example. This is the Recall Safe function, and it can be accessed by pressing the Channel Job key in the Display Access section as many times as necessary until the Recall Safe display appears. The Recall Safe function allows you to specify parameters and/or channels that are not to be recalled when a scene is recalled. The Recall Safe function applies to all scenes, including scene 000. The Channel Recall Safe field displays the channels for which the Recall Safe function is active. The Safe Parameter field lets you turn Recall Safe on or off for individual channels and specify the safe parameters that are to be excluded when recalling scenes. The Global field allows you to select global parameters that can be specified as safe parameters for the entire console rather than individual channels. These parameters can be edited even after they have been assigned Recall Safe status. Parameters that are highlighted in green are Recall Safe parameters, while parameters that appear in black are recallable parameters. Press the Channel Job key as many times as necessary until the Recall Safe display appears. If you engage the Set By Switch button while the Recall Safe display is showing, you can turn Recall Safe on for any channel simply by pressing its Select key. Channels can be selected in the Channel Recall Safe field by using the Layer keys and Mix Matrix keys. In this example, the Layer 1 through 32 key is engaged, allowing you to select channels 1 through 32. Engage the channel 1 through 4 select keys. The selected channels will appear in the Channel Recall Safe field, indicated by green bars. At the same time, the Safe Parameter field Safe button will light, setting Recall Safe status for channels 1 through 4. You can, for example, specify that the EQ settings for a guitar channel are not to be changed when a different scene is recalled. This is known as partial safe. Partial safe setups can be specified via the Safe Parameter field. Select specific parameters for Recall Safe by using the Safe Parameter field buttons, and engage the Safe button in the same way as when specifying Channel Recall Safe. A number of partial safe options are available. To specify the same parameter in all channels, engage the Apply to All Input or Apply to All Output button before selecting the parameter. The LS9 features a USB memory recorder function that makes it easy to record the console's internal signals to a USB memory and playback audio files that have been saved to a USB memory. Files can be recorded to USB memory in MP3 format. In addition to MP3 files, files in WMA and AAC format can be played back. The USB memory recorder function supports 44.1 kHz and 48 kHz sampling rates. The output from the console's stereo or mix buses can be recorded to USB memory, and audio playback or sound effect files saved on a USB memory can be assigned to and played back via any of the console's input channels. To use the USB memory recorder, it is necessary to first make the appropriate input and output channel assignments. Press the recorder key in the display access section as many times as necessary until the recorder display appears. The stereo L and R buses are assigned to the recorder's inputs by default, so you can record the console's stereo output right away. This setting can be changed as required. Here we'll set the playback out assignment. Use the cursor keys to select the playback out L channel and press the Enter key. The input channel select display will appear. Here we'll select Stereo in 1 to allow convenient output control. Use the cursor keys to select the Stereo in tab and turn Stereo in 1L on. Since an effect module in the virtual rack is initially assigned by default, a confirmation dialog asking if it's okay to change this setting will appear. We do want to disconnect the effect in this case, so we select OK and press the Enter key. Check that Stereo in L1 is on, then use the cursor keys to select the Close button and press the Enter key. Assign the remaining channel to the other input in the same way. Save audio files in the Songs folder inside the YPE folder on the USB memory, or in further folders contained within the Songs folder. Files saved in other folders, as well as files in unsupported formats, will not be recognized. Plug the USB memory containing the audio files into the console's USB connector. Then press the recorder key in the display access section as many times as necessary until the title list display appears. MP3 files that do not include ID3 tags that are used to display the song title, artist name, and other information will not be recognized. So use caution when attempting to play MP3 files you have recorded yourself or copied from other sources. Position the cursor at the play-pause button and press the Enter key to start playback. To stop playback, position the cursor at the Stop button and press the Enter key. When playing multiple files in sequence, the checked files in the list will play. In the Through All mode, playback will begin at the selected song, and all checked songs up to the end of the title list will be played in sequence. Playback will stop automatically when the songs have been played through once. In the Repeat All mode, playback will begin at the selected song, and all checked songs up to the end of the title list will be played in sequence. Then playback will begin again from the first song. Playback will repeat until the Stop button is clicked. In the Repeat 1 mode, the selected song will play and repeat until the Stop button is clicked. In the Through 1 mode, the selected song will play once, and then playback will stop automatically. The LS9 has 12 user-defined keys to which you can freely assign a range of functions, allowing you to execute the assigned function by simply pressing the corresponding keys. User-defined keys are initially assigned to default functions, but you can change these assignments as required via the Setup page. You could, for example, assign USB memory recording and playback to the user-defined keys, so you can instantly begin recording or playback at any time. You could also assign a help file for fast, easy reference. Press the Setup key in the Display Access section as many times as necessary until the User Setup display appears. Position the cursor at the User-Defined Keys button and press the Enter key. The User-Defined Keys pop-up window will open, showing the current key assignments. To change the function assigned to a key, press a User-Defined Keys and the corresponding User-Defined Key Setup pop-up window will appear. Make sure that the function field is highlighted with a yellow frame. Then use the dial or increment and decrement keys to select the function you want to assign from the list. The functions are organized by category, and you can select the target parameter from either the parameter 1 or parameter 2 field. To bookmark a specific display page, select Page Change in the function field and then Page Bookmark in the parameter 1 field. The display page to be opened is actually specified by pressing and holding the user-defined key for more than 2 seconds while the target display page is showing. Once assigned, you can instantly open the assigned display page from any other page by simply pressing the user-defined key. Using a computer on which the LS9 editor software has been installed, you can edit and store LS9 scene memory and library data offline. The LS9 can be connected to the computer via an Ethernet cable for data transfer and synchronization, allowing the computer to function as a remote controller for the LS9. Download the following software and drivers from the Yamaha Pro Audio website. 1. Studio Manager host software. 2. LS9 editor software. 3. GME-N network driver. Follow the supplied and on-screen instructions and install the above software on your computer. Connect the LS9 to your computer either directly or via a network switch using a high-quality Cat5 Ethernet cable. Either a straight or cross Ethernet cable can be used when connecting the LS9 directly to the computer. Press the Setup key in the Display Access section as many times as necessary until the miscellaneous setup display appears. The link mode, IP address, gateway address, subnet mask, and MAC address parameters should appear in the Network field in the miscellaneous setup display. Please note that only Class C IP addresses, in which the first three digits are 192 through 223, are supported. In order to use the LS9 editor's software, it is necessary to make the appropriate settings on the LS9 console, the DMEN network driver, and the LS9 editor's software. Set up the computer's TCP/IP Internet protocol as follows. From the computer's Start menu, select Control Panel, Network Connection, Local Area Connection, Properties. In the Local Area Connection Properties window, select Internet Protocol TCP/IP from the list, then click the Properties button. IP address. The first three-digit groups from left to right should be matched to those of the LS9 IP address. The last three-digit group should be set to a different unique number. In this example, the IP address is 192.168.0.52. Subnet mask. This should be set to 255.255.255.0. Default gateway. It is only necessary to change this setting when connecting to a separate network. In most cases, the default setting can be left as is. The LS9 console should be set up as follows. Press the Setup key in the Display Access section a few times until the miscellaneous setup display appears. Use the cursor keys to select the Set button and press the Enter key. The Network pop-up window will appear. Set the LS9 network settings as shown here. From the computer's Start menu, select Control Panel, DMEN Network Driver to launch the DMEN Network Driver. Depending on the way your computer is set up, you might be able to launch the driver directly from the Start menu, or you might have to open the Control Panel folder and double-click its icon. Make the following device settings. Specify a name for the device. The device IP address should be set to the same address as the IP address in the LS9 network pop-up window. The device IP address should be different from the computer's IP address. The device MAC address should be the same as the MAC address shown in the LS9 miscellaneous setup window. This value is automatically read from the LS9 when an Ethernet cable is connected and the network is set up properly with the appropriate IP addresses. Set the device port number to 1 to allow communication with the LS9. When all four device settings have been made, click the Apply button and the device will appear in the target device list at the top of the window. This indicates that the device MAC address has been successfully read and the network is operating properly. Click the Save and Close button to exit from the DMEN network driver. Launch the Yamaha Studio Manager either from the Program menu or from the desktop shortcut. Select Setup from the Studio Manager File menu. Select LS9 in the list on the left side of the window, then click the Add button. Confirm that LS9 has been added to the list on the right side of the window. Next, click the MIDI Ports tab to open the MIDI Ports window. The device name specified in the DMEN network driver will appear in both the input ports and output ports windows, and both should be checked. Click the OK button and the LS9 icon should appear in the Studio Manager window. Double-click the LS9 icon to launch the LS9 editor. When the LS9 editor has launched, select System Setup from the File menu. Select the port you intend to use for communication in the window that opens. Both the input port and output port settings should be matched to the settings you made in the Studio Manager. If an administrator password has been set for the LS9, enter the password in the Administrator Password field. If you click Set Default, the settings you have made will be loaded as the initial defaults the next time the LS9 editor is launched. When all settings have been made as required, click the OK button to close the window. Click the Resync button to open the Resynchronize window via which you can synchronize the LS9 and computer settings. If scenes or libraries have already been stored in the console, use Direction in the window to select Console to PC, and then click the OK button to back up the LS9 settings to the computer. Always make sure that you have selected the appropriate direction when synchronizing the console and computer. If the LS9 and computer are properly connected, the online indicator will be highlighted in green. In this state, the LS9 and LS9 editor parameters are synchronized so that when a parameter is edited, the change is reflected on both the LS9 and the computer. That's all for the LS9 online seminar. For more details, refer to the LS9 Owner's Manual. The manual can be downloaded from the Yamaha Manual Library.